1007話。Hey everyone, how's it going? I am Zeracon and I am back once again. Um so last week I last week I watched Tokyo Ghoul the movie for the first time. I went and I borrowed it from my library. I watched it mostly out of morbid curiosity. I generally, I guess you could say, stay away from live adaptations of anime. Um, and so I said to myself, you know what? I'm a fan of Tokyo Ghoul. I might despise it, but why not? And to be honest, actually, I didn't actually hear too much buzz about this film, whether it was good or not when it came out. Because I know it came out earlier last year. I think it came out around November, but I decided to just give a shot away. There was Attack on Titan that was there, but I decided not to borrow that one. Instead, just watch Tokyo Ghoul since I actually like that more. So, I I went and I watched it, and to be honest, it was better than I anticipated, and that's strange because normally when I've watched these things, they haven't been too good. But granted, I've watched Western versions like Dragon Ball Evolution, Netflix's Death Note, stuff like that. So I guess without further ado, let's just get into it. So, oh, by the way, there will be spoilers. I'm sorry, but that's the nature of this, especially since I'm going to be going more in depth with the actual manga and anime. I'll just be going with that. So, starting off with the story, it's basically covering up, I guess you could say, the sort of, well, not smaller arc, but the earlier portion of Tokyo Ghoul, leading up with the uh Ken Kaneki and the Doves, especially with Arima and his mentor. Wow, why can't I remember his name? um, no, right. No, yeah. No, I'm sorry. Amon. That's what I meant to say. And his mentor. So, that was sort of like where it stops off there, and that's pretty much the central focus. And so it starts off really quickly. In the manga, it sort of kind of eases you into it, and then also with the anime. But I really felt with the opening for the film, it just opens up and it's just like nonstop. It's just unrelenting, and that kind of turned me off a bit because it felt like we were sort of rushing things. But by the time we got either a third or halfway through the film, I felt like that sort of was needed, and it helped give the film momentum and just keep pushing through. So while the fast paced progression of the story in the beginning was kind of, I guess, a nuisance, it did serve later on. Also, the exact opening, explaining about ghouls and stuff, it sort of reminded me of like an X-Men film, like especially like the earlier ones, like I think the first one specifically. Um, so yeah, so when you start off, you're with Ken and Hide in the cafe and stuff, and then you have Rize. No, I'm sorry, Riza. Wow, how am I supposed to be a Tokyo Ghoul fan and not get that right? um, um, so it's sort of like it felt like it was, like I said, it was had a faster pacing than in the original material. Um, and then it's not too long before she attacks him, and then the beam falls on her and stuff, and then he gets her organs and he becomes a ghoul. Um, and there's one thing I'm going to point out is the fact that the special effects in the film were leaving something to be desired. Um, I know that Japan's films have a smaller budget than, say, like Hollywood, but I feel like that is one thing that Hollywood actually would have been able to sort of get right, or at least would have made it look better. Are the Kagune, because it just sort of looks really fake. I mean, there were some times when it did look somewhat believable, but most of the time it just looks somewhat silly. Now, I did like the effects that they have for the eyes, for when the eyes turn black, especially with Kaneke's, but just in general, the Kagune sort of seem out of place. But and also, one other thing is the fact that the beam, when it fell on it, it looked kind of, it was kind of comedic because it just, unlike in the manga where it looks like kind of crazy, right there it looked like it was too perfect. It looked like, hey, let's just drop this conveniently placed beam on this random ghoul for no reason. Ha ha. But yeah, so um other characters and stuff. Oh, also I want to say that Nishiki and Yomo, they actually, in my opinion, were the best looking representations of the original characters. Like they look so spot on. Sadly, Yomo, he didn't really feel like he served too much of a purpose. He felt like he was there just because he was supposed to be there. But I really wish that they had spent more time with the character, so that way we actually felt like there's a reason to have him around. And also, sort of the same thing with Nishiki. We felt he was there, and then by the halfway through the film, he was no longer there. He just disappeared, and it made it feel like, what was the point of him being here, other than the fact that Kaneki is supposed to somehow tap into his full ghoul abilities, and then perhaps have a reason for him to be a threat to Hide when that situation came. Other than that, though, felt like there was no reason for him to be there. I did like the investigative aspects that the CCG had. I really thought that it sort of made it feel like an actual investigation. You know, I mean, I can't remember if that sort of degree of detective work was in the. I mean, I know there was definitely some in the manga, but it felt fresh in the movie. Also, in one scene where I think it was, no wait, who was it again? It was Koma, when he was talking to Kaneki, and like Kaneki was saying stuff like, "Oh yeah, you know, couldn't imagine that that person's a ghoul," and then he says, "Well, what about me? What about that man over there, that woman?" And then he mentioned the fact that everyone in the cafe was a ghoul. I thought that was great because, you know, it sort of showed that, hey, you know, ghouls are nice people as well. I mean, sure, they want to eat humans, but it's not that, you know, they actually kind of have a choice in the matter. Um, but yeah, I thought that scene was very nice, and I thought, you know, just sort of like, I guess, I mean, I don't want to say humanizes, but it sort of, you know, just shows like another side to the ghouls, you know, rather than, you know, just like what you typically thought of or would think of. Um, Other aspects of the film that well, there's one thing that I sort of like, I wasn't sure how they were going to handle this, and that was how they would continue on, if they were going to continue on with it. Because for one thing, which happened originally in the series, the fact that they had Jason, uh, early on during the investigations and stuff, trying to find um, Hinami and her family and stuff, and Jason was encountered once, and I realized after reaching the end of the film that they didn't show that, and I thought it really would have been interesting if they were to pull some sort of Marvel cinematic universe thing and just had like a secret ending where it's like you have Jason and stuff, and then it's like we're getting all ready, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, that would be incredible. But they didn't. They left it sort of like, I don't want to say open ended, but they sort of like had a sort of close ending where if they never made another film, that would be fine. And I'm content with that. I mean, sure, we don't know how Kaneki would adjust to his new life as a half ghoul. Um, we don't know how his relationships with Hide would be. We don't know, what happens with the rest of the people at Anteku, but it sort of resolves itself though from what we saw. Um, Now, one other thing that I would actually have to praise this film for is the fact that this is now, of course, I know there are other ones like the Japanese Death Note and then Assassination Classroom, and also another. But this is one of the few anime films where I actually felt like, hey, we're actually getting the nationalities right for once with their adaptations. I mean, like I said, we have Death Notes, the American version, and we have Dragon Ball Evolution. And then we also had cases like Attack on Titan. And I'm like, wow, this is all wrong in so many different ways. But here, we actually have Japanese people in a Japanese story. Like the previous mentioned lens. Like, for example, Light Yagami is like Light some. I can't remember what his last name was. But like, in then Attack on Titan, where where the majority of the people are German, or they're Western, and then they're all supposed to be like Mikasa is supposed to be like the last Asian, and yet like the entire cast is Asian, and it's like it's just hilarious because instead of having something like Guten Tag something something Eren Yeager something something, it's more like Boku wa Eren Yeager da yoroshiku. It's just funny, situation like that. So it felt really great, just to have that. So overall, would I say to watch Tokyo Ghoul, the movie? Yes, if you're a fan of Tokyo Ghoul, then I would definitely say go and watch it because it's not an amazing film, but it is a nice, decent adaptation, and I think that sort of deserve to have something like that. So I definitely would recommend it. If you've never watched or read Tokyo Ghoul before, I wouldn't necessarily say watch it because it can be, I guess it could be really hard to catch on and understand what's going on, why certain things are going on and stuff. But other than that though, yeah, I would definitely say, give it a shot. So everyone, without further ado, oh wait, that's one more thing also I want to say. I now have social media on Twitter, so check it out, follow me and stuff. And and then I might even post certain things or let you all know when I'm going to be working on something. But now, without further ado, everyone, I am iamxeracon signing off. Have a good one.